3, 2. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the League of Legends Anonymous podcast, episode 220. I am your host, Killzil, here today with Astros BK.
What's
Say
up?
hello. And Danger Penguin as well.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
How you guys doing?
I'm
Uh,
I'm I'm alive. I got a new keyboard. Pretty pumped.
Yeah?
Astros is never doing that great, so
Yeah, that's
that's
just true.
that's that's good enough for us.
All right. Well, guess what I have, guys?
Internet?
Internet.
I have internet after almost an entire week. After a horrible ice storm in Kansas City, I finally have internet back up. Oh my
Convenient. It was
god.
one day after the tournament, it
Yeah,
seems.
that's
Hey,
what
I
I'm
was there the
saying.
whole time. I did it on my phone as best I could.
You
That's
were balling out on your phone. You did a great job.
Dude, I started at 100% battery life, and between switching between spreadsheets and Discord, I was at 17, and actually the Twitch channel, I was at 17% by the time the night was over.
Very nice.
Pretty mad, actually. Pretty
you,
crazy.
you didn't just leave it plugged in. That's what I would have done.
No, because I have an iPhone and I had to use my headphones, so I
Mm,
can't actually charge my phone at the same time. I know it's terrible.
Apple.
Basically, Apple, yeah, it's awful.
big unlucky.
Yeah. So we had the tournament last night. We're not going to talk too much about it, but I do want to announce the winners. Turned out to be the
It
Auto
was me.
Attackers. It was Astros. Astros, you didn't even play. How'd you win?
Um, through the power of friendship with myself.
You don't have any friends. Okay, with yourself. Okay, there
Yeah,
you go.
yeah.
That makes a lot more sense.
Mm-hmm. Context. So yeah, we have the winners, and it was the Auto Attackers. See some of their names of those fellas. You all might know some of them, being popular members of the community. We had Tagand actually, which this is his third tournament in a row that
All I'm
he's
saying is
won.
you can't say popular and then put the
He's won
Gond.
all three of the
He's
last
won all
tournaments.
3 tournaments. Okay, not popular, but the oldest. Let's put that in there.
I like
He
Tagan
is
because he's older
old.
than me. That is
He
very
is
nice.
old. I'm surprised he still is like able to get on a computer.
uh, yeah, he just like comments random shit in all chat.
He flames me a lot. It's great.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's probably because you're a young whippersnapper.
I'd say I'm
And
a
then let's
snap
see,
whipper,
we had
but
Tagan Pizanski actually was on the winning team. Mr. Abstruse, Vriss, and who was the last one?
Chaos
Chaos, and or Zach.
XIII or Zach.
Cool, awesome. Well,
Congrats to
congrats
those guys.
to
It
those
was very
fellas.
cool.
They got skins given to them, I believe, right after the tournament. If you guys don't get your skins, just let me know. We'll figure it out. We got to get you your prizes here. So. Anyway, I think everything kind of went as best as it could, considering I didn't have internet to like actually participate or really handle things as well as they should would have liked to anyway.
Yeah, I
But yeah,
thought I thought it went really well. I think everyone had a good time. That we got a lot of people in there all at once. We had what was it, 12 full
we
teams?
had 12 full teams. Yeah, and I thought teams hadn't shown up, and then like lo and behold, they had like created their own discords to like actually practice in and train in. So that was really cool. The dedication was really awesome.
Yeah, and it was fun just watching games as well. My entire team got together to watch the first round because we had a bye, and that was a ton of fun. I would suggest that game to anyone. It was the first game for the tournament on LOLA podcast Twitch. So check it out. It was a really good game, very competitive, a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, the first round of games were incredibly close. I think there was even a really amazing comeback by the shot callers, who looked like they were going to be down and out after like level 3, and
Yeah,
kind of were able to rally there, which was really cool. So I know, like, see, your team made it to round 2. Is that what I'm hearing, Penguin?
yep, we made it all the way to round two through guile and expertise.
Excellent.
It was a good group of guys though. We practiced together throughout the week. It was a fun. It was just a lot of fun. Even though we got knocked out in the second round, I had a really good time. Shout out to my team. I had a lot of fun.
Oh,
shout out to my
um,
team. I had a lot of fun. Yeah.
You're the worst.
All I'm
Oh,
saying,
God.
all right, I got the strat penguin, all right. I'll get my Smurf leveled up, and then I'll make a new Discord, and I'll get like a voice changer, and I'll like Smurf with you in the next
I
game, all right.
I I really like the level of commitment. I don't think anyone would even be mad.
I think we'd know it was you instantaneously.
By the sad, not your sad voice, but your sad way of going about things. Just the demeanor in which you
Yeah,
act.
just
It'd be like,
the
oh, that's
Charlie Brown theme seems to play whenever he logs in.
that's exactly what it is. That's what I hear in
Right?
my head.
Da, 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 da,
And then when he
da.
talks, it's like the teacher talking. I get it now.
Wah, wah.
When's the ARAM tournament, Penguin? We gotta set this up.
Oh, ARAM tournament. That's what I'm about that.
I say
I'm
we
all about an ARAM tournament. Double elimination on that too. That'd be fun.
Oh yeah, that's 20
I say
minutes.
I say we make like a dream team, and then the community just brings teams and challenges us all day.
I actually think that's a brilliant idea.
I thought
This
about
is
it for
something
a
we're really gonna
5v5
look
team.
into. Don't worry about it, guys. We are definitely looking into this.
We just gotta drag Papa along, because Ponderous definitely won't do it.
We can do
We can get
tournaments
Tycho
without them.
probably.
Tycho
They
would
choked
do
in
it.
the tournament anyway, so
I mean, the first tournament. I mean, I guess I had to buy first round in the first tournament too, but we still lost second round, so it didn't matter. It was like
Been there, bud.
it was like 12-0, and we lost at like PTSD. Move on, please. Help me.
okay. All right. So yeah, we'll get more tournaments together. I'll let you guys know. I'm learning a lot from putting this together. So and any feedback you guys have for me is totally great. So I want to be able to do more of this in the future. Want to be better organized and not have as many hiccups. So
It's tough to herd 60 cats, so you did a good job.
we'll get there. Anyway, tonight we're going to be talking about more Law Society videos. We've got a few topics here. We're going to talk about team fighting a little bit, how to roam, and how to get fed in lane. So have these guys like kind of cover those things for me and talk about those in detail. So
Let's do it.
Yeah. So let's see what's up first here.
We're on the team fighting. That was
Team
episode 4
fighting.
of these great videos that you should definitely watch. But since you're not, we're gonna tell you about them.
Walk you through it, baby steps. Hold your hand. Here we go.
My hands get a little clammy, so I'd recommend just watching them on your own, to be
Well,
honest.
I don't want to hold your hand, but if I have to.
Wow.
That's
I
what
will.
he's willing to do.
I thought you loved me, but okay.
Love is a strong word.
Yeah, this is the guy who introduced me as the devil himself last episode.
Last episode.
You can love the devil. There's a lot of people
It's
who do
true.
that.
Wow.
I have a lot of mastery points on the devil. It's fine.
Yikes.
Team fighting.
All right. So, how's the video go? Give us a synopsis there, Danger.
All right, so it basically runs down in very nice detail because it has a lot of stop motion video to go along with what he's describing. But it basically follows the 4 phases of team fighting, which is initiate, follow up, kill, the backline, and then clean up. And so we start with initiate, and basically all he says that we're trying to do when you initiate is to he puts it excite the fight or flight method, right? So when you initiate, even if it's a terrible initiate, 1v5, you've now made those 5 people make a decision, and they need to be on the same page when they make that decision. Do they turn and burn the person who just initiated, or do they run and recoup?
Right.
And when you make that initiation, you're the one who's in control. Even if, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of bad initiations, but even when you make that, you're making everyone on that team decide what they need to do.
Right.
So he shows like a great example of a Rek'Sai going in 1v5, and he goes in and he pops up and he knocks one person up, and then he starts slowly walking away. But the 5 people have to make a decision: are we turning and fighting, or are we
Right.
slowing it down and recouping ourselves and regrouping and then moving on? So that's the first phase that he talks about. And I think it's very interesting because I never really thought about the psychological advantage you get from that first initiate.
So, like, I feel like the decision to turn and burn the one person is like pretty easy. Like you just do it. I mean, I think even in bronze, like you instinctively, everyone, or at least two of those people will like turn and take care of that person who's engaging.
Well,
Like in a full on team fight, like what's I don't know. It's
well,
probably more
so
going
you
on,
initiate, right? You initiate, and let's say you decide to turn and burn. How many of your cooldowns do you end up using, right? So that's what he harkens back to is, okay, I initiated, I got burned down, but did I blow both tanks cooldowns and an ADC's cooldown in that? So
Sure.
now my 4 people who are now following up, can they now follow up and attack back? Because if they do turn and burn the tank that initiated, usually it's a tank that should be initiating, right? Or someone who can do something to survive that initiation. So even if you initiate 1v5, there's a lot of tanks who can survive that first burst. But even if they don't, and they've used 4 alts on that one tank, you still might have the advantage 4v5, and you have to make that
Sure.
decision. Now they've burnt 4 alts, and they have most of their CC and dashes gone. That means you have control over the fight. You now
Sure.
can use your dashes to get to who you want to get to. You can avoid their tank line because their tank line can't do anything to get you off their back line. And so that's when you can follow up, because you know that's what he says is know the cooldowns, because if you know their cooldowns are gone, then you have control over the fight.
Yeah. I think that's something that I like tell ADC because I'm so playing an enchanter support type character. I'm coordinating with my ADC like when to go in. I think I instinctively like react to when I see a lot of cooldowns blown, but I don't actually think about what I'm doing there. I don't actually like communicate that specifically. I just say go in, go in.
I think
So yeah,
part
go
of that
ahead.
just comes with like instinct. Like you've gotten to the point where you don't have to actually think about it anymore.
Yeah,
And I think that's like one of the differences in like your ability to team fight. The less you have to think in a team fight, the more you can focus on like what's actually going on and what's getting used.
yeah,
'Cause especially with how mobile a lot of the champions are right now and all the skill shots that get thrown around, you gotta have those happy feet, you know?
yep,
Penguin knows about
Without a
happy
doubt.
feet.
And that's why in the next phase where you followed up right now, and you in the follow up phase you're trying to decide, do I hit the tank that's right in front of me, or can I get around him to get to the damage dealers? So then
yeah,
after that is killing the backline, right? So
mm-hmm.
you've done a little dance, maybe you're at 4v4 or something. Can you get to that backline and kill it? Because that's what's going to win you that team fight. You know,
Right,
the tanks can survive a while, but getting to that backline, but you have to know when to get to the backline. And he does a really good job of pointing out like a grave, staying just far enough back to avoid 2 alts, one from the Braum, and then he dives in and kills the Twitch instantly, right?
yeah,
Because he knows that no one's going to CC him because he can get back to him. So
right,
it's like Astro said, a lot of it is hopefully going to become second nature once you've encountered enough team fights. But you're doing all those calculations in your head. You're like, okay, Malphite can't ult me. He's already used it to initiate. Okay, Braum just used his ult. Okay, I'm not afraid of any CC anymore. Go. Now, you don't usually talk yourself through that process, but you're
sure,
processing all of it in your brain, and you're saying, okay, now's my time. And that's when you want to get to that back line. So you've already hit the tanks a little bit. They're still living. You don't want to sit there and keep burning the tank if you can get to the back line and kill it. And that's something that you need to work on, really. You have to practice it on how to get to that back line, and when to get to that back line is probably more specific.
yeah. That's the thing is target selection will change, and it can be kind of like frustrating to be wailing on a target that's in front of you, right, and then have an assassin pop up into your view, and it feels like, or maybe the ADC even, and you feel like you should go ahead and like finish off the target you were working on, but in actuality, it's like best to like change what you're doing.
I,
And
I, I see that error all the time,
yeah,
like more
constantly.
often than anything, is
The
where,
like commit
oh,
to what I was doing.
he's only got 10% health, but what you don't realize is that tank's 10% health is way more than the ADC with his 75% health, right?
Right, right.
Because of all the armor, and he's popped stone, the gargoyle stone plate, and you're doing all those calculations, but you see that bar, and it's a psychological thing. You see that bar and you see it so low, and you're like, I got him.
I smell blood. Right. Yeah.
You don't got him, and you definitely need to go for the guy who's killing everyone else.
Right. On the same note, though, when you are that assassin or that ADC who has that opportunity to go in because cooldowns are blown, like it's like yeah, if you see them focusing a tank, that's your opportunity, right?
Exactly. Yeah, make
Yeah.
that move.
Yeah, and you can tell after a while. I think with team fighting when people kind of have that like blood scent, right? They're like they want this Fiora dead, and like if Fiora's got Fiora's built tanky this game or whatever it is, and it's like she's got her riposte and she can actually survive a little bit longer than you think she's going to, and so let them focus the Fiora while you go in on their backline. It sounds great to me.
It does. So how do you dance around a team fight, Astros, as Katarina, someone that you play often?
I mean, I think Katarina is like a champion that is like in its own kind of bubble in terms of team fighting because she's so susceptible to CC.
Mm,
I mean, take like an 80 carry and like their biggest counter is CC or like stuns, right? Like things that
yeah,
they can't auto throw. And I mean, Katarina can't do any damage if she gets CC'd. Um, I play a Katarina build that relies on my passive, which is my dagger pickup, and
mm-hmm.
rather than my ult. And so I don't like instantly go in and press R. R is like a finish if I like miss a dagger and I don't hit him and I need like the finish for resets. I think
Right.
you really have to watch like positioning wise based on like CC especially and like can you get to their back line in like a way? Can you like E to their tank W to drop your dagger back on you to get a reset on your E to Q the 80 carry to then be able to jump to your other dagger? And is that burst going to be enough to either A, kill him or make it so you can like take him out of the fight while your team either cleans up the front line or finishes off the 80 carry?
And I think that's a good point. And you're speaking from Katarina's point of view, but it works for any damage doer, right? Is you have to be so wary of CC because that's what will stop you.
Yeah,
Um,
it was the same when I played Kha'Zix.
yep.
Like
Any assassin, anyone who's outputting a lot of damage, save some some tankier mages or something like a Rise or something who
Mm,
can survive quite a few hits. But a lot of the ADCs and a lot of the assassins, you need to pick your spots, and that's why you have to be very cognizant of what people have used, and that will help you in team fights a lot. Because if you see them blow their CC on the tank that initiated, go for that backline right away. Even though all five of them are up, you might be able to get a kill or two before going down.
right.
yeah,
Cool.
I think like assassins in general play team fights really weird because usually your objective in team fights is to blow up backline, but we've gotten to a point where like bruisers and tanks are pretty prevalent in the meta, and it just makes it like really hard to play like right now in terms of stuff like that. And I don't know about you guys,
I
but
wouldn't say that tanks are prevalent in the meta. I
No,
agree
I'd
with
say
you about
bruisers are very
bruiser.
prevalent, but
Yeah,
that creates a new distinction, right? Because if you have one tank, you know what the one guy you're avoiding is. If you have three bruisers in the game, it makes it a lot more difficult because you can't blow them up right away, and they can also output
right.
a lot of
There's like
damage.
almost no. Well, there's very rarely with like that many bruisers. There's not like traditional team fights. There's like constant skirmishing
Yep.
within several screens of each other. So, especially with like, gosh, I mean, Aurelia, Jax, you name it, right? Like it's just one long fighting chase. It
Yep.
doesn't seem to end. Either you're running away or you're chasing down.
And don't worry, they can always catch you.
Like, it can't always catch you. That and like engage ranges these days are like much longer than they used to be, which I think is kind of something to keep in mind. So whenever I am like getting ready for the team fight, getting ready for that like engage, I'm actually rarely watching my screen. I'm actually watching the mini map more than anything else because I'm keeping account on like exactly who is where, and how many people are in front of me or near my team, and if fighting breaks out, where I need to run to exactly and immediately when that does happen. And I feel like that's something that is more needed now because of the way engage ranges are so like people can get to you within two screens very very quickly, whereas before it was like much more traditional, like you both see each other on the same screen and then the Maokai ults or whatever, like say a season or two ago.
Right, now you have
And
like
then-
Camille coming from 4
Right.
screens away.
Exactly, and from out of vision, right? Like in
Yep.
fact, engages out of vision are like sometimes the only way to do it these days.
Happens a lot.
Yeah, whether it's Kled or Camille or Aurelia or whoever. So, but yeah, I think watching the minimap during that initial stage. I also remember when I was playing coordinated team play with like Vantage League, where we had like a team of 5 that like practiced regularly together and stuff like that. That was almost all I did during like the late game, following the team around and fighting as 5. Was like watch the minimap while I was actually moving on screen. Like I almost was playing as if the minimap was the main part of the game I was supposed to be paying attention to. And for people who like are part of the backline or are control mages or are enchanter supports, I think that's kind of how you have to look at things. I don't know. What do you think, Penguin? I know you play Zyra. Like, is that ring true to you at all?
Yeah, I'd say so. It all boils down to what is your goal in the team fight, right? We've talked about this multiple times on the podcast, but identifying what your goal is and then using these tools to help you accomplish that goal. Like, so as a Zyra player, I am often an initiator because I set up death brushes, right?
Right.
So even if I get blown up right away, as long as I get my full combo out, I've done my job, because cooldowns, like the earliest my Q's coming back is like 7 seconds later anyway. So if I can get my E, root 'em, Q, and then my R down, I don't even mind if I get blown up, because I've done my job, because I will have initiated it such a way. And so that's a different kind of initiation, obviously, than what we're talking about. We're talking about a lot more standard. So if I'm in a standard team fight where we've A-rammed ourselves into the middle, I'm looking at peeling a lot of the time with my E. So I'm
Sure.
looking for when they think they can dive in, because the tanks have blown their CC. So all of a sudden now the assassin comes in the back row trying to take out my ADC. That's when I'll throw out my CC, my root, to help them survive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I've identified as my help. And obviously, what I constantly do is I'll always try and get my plants up and trying to hit around the tank, because every little bit helps, and I'm not going to be stepping forward into anyone. I'm staying as far back as I possibly can.
Sure.
So I'm not someone who's going to be killing the back line. I'm someone who's going to hit the tank, do some damage to the tank, and be ready to root when someone comes from my back line.
So none of us play initiators then, really.
Well, I do play a lot of initiation with
Okay.
top lane. So I play a
Okay.
lot of Maokai, a lot of Malphite. I do often do the initiate where I'm like, okay, I'm going in, so I might flash W with Maokai, right? And then they flash, so now I'm all the way into the enemy team, which I'm completely fine with as Maokai.
That's a lucky play, but yeah.
Yeah, because now I'm gonna Q, I'm gonna knock them back, and then I'm gonna R, and I'm gonna root everyone, and that should give my team time to catch up. Also, I'm tanky enough that I'm hoping they blow their big cooldowns on me. I want to see any big cooldown that they got, and I want to soak it up.
Right.
Because I'm as a Maokai, like at that stage in the game where we're having those 5v5 fights, I can usually at least survive a few seconds, and especially in that situation, if I could have rooted someone on the outside edge, that means that my assassins or my ADC should be able to blow them up quick
Right.
enough, and then we can turn the fight, because everyone's using all of their damage on me, whereas all of my friends are using their damage on hopefully a little bit squishier targets that are going to go down quicker.
Yeah, more efficient. Okay.
So I'm definitely for the 1v5 engage, as long as my team has a chance to follow up eventually, because Malphite, it's a little bit different because you don't have as much time. It's not like the route that I get with Maokai. So I want to initiate in such a way, never on a tank. Like, I never want to initiate on a tank if I'm Malphite, because that's a waste of your pop up.
Sure.
Whereas with Maokai, I don't mind initiating on a tank. It doesn't mind. I don't mind, because I can get in range to use my next abilities, which are even more impactful on the backline. So I think that's really important to remember when you're initiating. Sometimes it seems like a bad, and don't get me wrong, you'll get a lot of bad initiations. I've gone in, my team has decided not to follow, and I've just slowly walked to my death away. It'll happen. It'll happen often, but it doesn't mean that it was a bad initiation. It means the follow up wasn't there.
Right.
I think one thing you have to think about in team fights and like a tank doesn't always have to be the one to start a fight because I can't think of many times in a game besides like like Baron dances or like objective dances where you're like a fight is starting straight 5v5, right?
Right.
Usually it's
No, that's
kind of
fair.
like scattered. So like a fight can start from me diving their back line on like Katarina or something and it starts that way. I don't want like I feel like putting that stigma where like tanks are what starts a team fight is like it's not
You have to
always
have a
right.
way. You have to either have an out. So, like for Katarina, let's say you have a Zonia's, or you've come in from an angle. You can blow up the back line and then run out at an angle, right?
Right.
You either have to have an out or you have to be okay with the trade, right? Say you're a Katarina and you're going to blow up one person, but you can blow up one person who's fed, and
Right.
then now you're 4v4 help. So I agree, you can absolutely have assassins initiate, especially with things like picks and stuff. When you're in the jungle, when you're doing 3v3s, 4v4s, you're not in a straight 5v5 team fight.
Yeah.
That's,
Hell.
I think that's a very good point. Is you
I've
can,
yeah.
yeah, go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
So
Just yeah. Like I've run into team fights with a bomb on my head and then ulted myself. Like it's just it doesn't. However it happens, you can get creative with it. It
right, but
doesn't
you have to be able to survive. Like you altered
Yeah.
yourself, he might use Zonia's, or like I said, either you have to have a way to survive to get other people to help you, or you have to have an okay being dead one for one trade.
Right. Like as in that you killing the Vayne means the rest of your team wins. So
Exactly.
you don't mind dying for that.
Have a plan when you go in.
Right.
I think you have to think about team fights like this. I said it like before, but I think like for solo queue in general, right? No matter what position you're playing, every game is different, and you have to figure out what your win condition is game to game. Whether or not it's protecting your AD carry, whether or not it's denying their AD carry, and it'll
Yeah.
change throughout the game, right? So you could have like a Vayne versus Jin like bot lane, right? And they're just like trading kills. And you get to this weird point in the game where it's like, all right, do I peel hard for my Vayne or do I shut down their Jin? And I think that's where like a lot of people who don't understand the the macro play of League really struggle in team fighting is like when you have to like peel or create space for one of your teammates and when you have to like go in.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like really hard to read and it's something that's like the more you understand the dynamics of how League works as a game and how different champions interact and what their roles play, the more you'll be able to like teach yourself like one like what your champion like if you're playing one of your mains like what your job is as a champion and what you need to do in team fights to create success to win the game.
Yeah. I find team fights are like the biggest opportunities for being able to turn games around that you've been in a deficit in, even like 10 or 12,000 gold. And so like being good at team fighting is something that you can have as a skill to carry yourself to different elos. Like you don't even have to necessarily be super great in lane, but like I am, like I'm not good in lane. I don't roam very much. I am kind of a bad player, but like when it comes to team fights, that's actually like how I win. And I don't win necessarily by even playing a really like great style of team fighting. I just play a champion that's really good at it, and you can do that too. You can be the Brand, or you could be the Zyra, or the Oriana with the clutch ults, or you could be the engage guy with like Kled or whatever. But like find something that works that gives you like a way to take control of a team fight, and then practice that over and over and over and get good at that thing and understand what that thing is and why it works. I mean, for me, it's like it's CC. Like I love playing characters that have so much CC, it's disgusting. So that I can just cause the enemy team to not move during a team fight. Then my team will eventually chisel them down and beat them. And like figuring out those ways to like take control of a team fight within your play style or within like your preferred character range is a really cool way of doing that. And team fighting, I think, is something absolutely you can like kind of focus on as like a thing you want to get good at.
Yeah, and I think that just comes with time of like playing the same champion and understanding like what your role is, because laning is like the biggest thing I struggle with since I've switched to mid, but I feel like my ability in understanding like team fights and like what my role is what helps me like win later, because I don't win lane often, and I feel like the games I do win lane, we just like lose the game and it doesn't make sense, because I should be able to
Because I
carry
beat
team
you in the team
fights,
fights.
because I should be able to team fight better because I have more gold and more items. But
That's not how that works.
yeah, I don't know.
What a
So
great segue, because episode 5 is winning lane.
you like
Hey,
how
all
I
right.
strategically did that because I felt like
Yeah.
we were getting a little overzealous with one.
Good job. It was the longest video in the series, the team
Yeah,
fighting
yeah.
video.
to be
So
fair.
I think it's proportional.
And it is
The
and it is
longest.
a complex and changing, entity, but
Agreed.
onward and so forth.
Cool. So
Longest video in the
episode
series being 12 minutes, so you don't have an excuse not to watch it.
5.
By the way,
Yeah,
episode 5,
that's
it's only
fair.
like 5 minutes long. Go
Yeah,
watch
this
it.
is super easy. Even I understand this, even though I do nothing in the video. That's correct. So, uh, Astros, do you want to talk about this?
Creating leads in lane.
Yeah.
Uh, don't do anything I do in lane because it's a really good way to fall behind in lane.
Okay.
Well, just watch a video of Astros and just mark it as do not do. There you go. We've helped everyone in the community.
The only thing I
Okay.
do well in lane is I roam. That's it.
Well, that's
Alright.
not this video,
I
so
know,
we can't
I know,
talk
that's
about
the
that.
We'll wait.
one.
I'll talk about this video then. That's fine. So what I don't do in lane is interact with my laner, and that's what this is about. So I'm going to tell you what you should do, not what I do. Which is that you need to be paying attention to what your laner is doing and looking for opportunities. So first of all, there's the trading stance, right? If we already covered that in video 1 in the last episode. But you need to be utilizing the trading stance to be able to get your opponent's health bar down lower, right? Get an edge on them somehow in lane, have kill pressure in that sense. Then you need to look for opportunities to all in. And the way you look for opportunities to all in is you either wait for your power spikes, say at level 6, or you wait for them to burn cooldowns like dashes in order to then make your move. The third way to kind of like look for that kill pressure is to set up a freeze in lane. So you've been trading well, you've been doing fine, chipping you away your enemy's health bar. The kind of third way to do this is to set up a freeze. So either your jungler can come and finish them off, and you can finish them off together, or you can look for an opportunity to bait them into using their dash and then going and all-inning them at that point. So yeah, just like recap in the video is the level 6 all in, like waiting for your power spike if that's the kind of champion you're playing. 2 is punishing dashes, and 3 is like setting up your waves for a freeze, so you can create opportunities for your jungler or create opportunities for yourself.
And this is exactly like Blake's building blocks, right? So
Yes.
we learned
Yes.
about trading stance already, so we know what we're supposed to do to help punish them some. Now what we're building on top of that is the ability to watch your experience, know when you're going to hit 6, and taking advantage of that because you've already, with your trading stance, denied at least a little bit of experience, right? All you need is that 1 minion advantage, and then that means you hit 6 first. And what it says in the video is exactly right. Don't hesitate. You hit 6, you have kill pressure. They're not 6, they don't have their ult. You just hit that big spike. Go at them. Like that's your chance. So watch that experience after you've already learned your trading stance abilities. Watch the experience, get that level 6, go punish, and then you can control your lane.
Here's how that develops into like more leads than one. A, if you're doing it early and there's no kill, you get first blood, so you get an extra 100 gold on top of the original kill, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your lane is probably pretty even if you're freezing it and like effectively using trading stance and abusing their health rather than like the minions in lane. So if anything, it might even be pushing into you. TP got nerfed, so not a lot of people take it, and you have a huge wave buildup. So you shove the wave, you deny them XP off the minions that died at turret, you chip away at the turret plating. The wave bounces, it will bounce back to you, so you can freeze it again when you get back, and you create more kill pressure that way. Because they have to step up farther to get CS that they're already behind.
And you're already coming back with an item advantage.
Yeah, you come back with a gold, and you should have a minion lead.
Yep.
And
that's exactly how you win lane. It's just that simple. All you have to do is watch a 4-minute video, and you too can win lane.
I mean, I'll still mess it up, but like that's fine.
Well, you also like to play tough laners, so I mean, there are different circumstances where it can be more difficult to say do a trade, because you might need level 6 to hit that kill pressure. But any little bit that you can do before that, it'll help you in the long run. So even let's say they hit 6 first, because it's just a better laning experience for them. Maybe they're a Xerath and you're a Katarina, right? So they're going to be able to farm a lot easier, and make sure that they get all of their experience. So they might hit 6 first, but their kill pressure isn't the same. Their kill pressure is whittling you down and then using their ult as you run away. Your kill pressure is going all in. So you can still utilize it to your advantage, even if you might lose out on some trades. You just got to be wary.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all a big like learning experience. It's matchup dependent. It's jungle interference dependent. Like even if you're in a lane, like if I'm playing Katarina, the more I can whittle them down, it benefits me in a way that it like disincentivizes them to all in me, because they have to worry about my return damage in the burst. So it relieves pressure and then creates pressure for me at the same time. It's kind of like laning is pretty much like tug of war, and whatever you take away from them, it's also like double effective because it increases like what you have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's a very good analogy.
Yep.
And so we've controlled our lane, and now we decide now's a good time to roam. We just pushed. Well, I guess we didn't push it in, right? So in the how to roam video, it starts off by saying don't cheese roam. So we're on to episode 6 now. And what he calls a cheese roam is a roam with no plan, basically. So you just happen to wander out of your lane and decide to, roam. And you're not really thinking it through. You're not thinking about what cooldowns have been used, where people's experience is at, where your lane's at. You're not thinking about any of that. You're just like, oh, I'm going to roam bot lane. Ping that way, and here I go. I'll walk in.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing he mentions is don't cheese roam. That
really
doesn't
quickly, cheese roam, like he's like saying basically this is bad roaming, is roaming without a plan, and I agree with him. However, here's the thing: like when you first start playing lane or first start playing league and like you learn how to roam, like all your roams are cheese roam. Like you don't know why you're doing something necessarily, right?
That's fair. Yeah.
And I think like it is important for you to step outside that comfort zone and make that walk towards bot lane, and then if it didn't work out or whatever, like just walk back and understand why it didn't, and like try to learn and understand why it didn't work out, why things weren't set up the best way for you to get a double kill or whatever it was. Because there was a lot of times when I was like low silver where like my teammates would just tell me like, you need to roam bot more or whatever it is, and like I would just go, and then they're like, why are you here? I'm like, I don't know, you told me to be here. Like, and it was like frustrating, but like it was doing it and then slowly picking up on those little mistakes and then trying to remedy them as like the game, as I learned and grew as a player. And then he tells you like the things to do in this video that will like are having a plan, are the things to do before you actually go and roam. And it is, what are those, Stager?
So he calls it the bread and butter roam. So he's talking about, just as we talked about, when you control your lane and you push, you've killed your lane opponent, right?
Or you
and
force
you push,
them back.
Or you force them back. Either works. And you push the wave into the turret. Now, what you're doing there is you're preventing experience for them. You're taking away gold from them, but you're also giving yourself an opportunity to leave that lane. And now people don't know, did you back or did you roam? Which is, an advantage for you. So let's say you see that your bot lane is being pushed into their turret. That might be a really good time to roam because you can see that you have a path down, and and you're not losing any experience in lane at that moment.
Hmm.
And Zill brought this point up earlier, but roaming has become a more difficult task now because of turret plating. Because when you stay in lane and you get a turret plate, that's 80 gold, and that's very
It's
nice, right? That's a
160.
nice. Oh, 160. Sorry, I was thinking. I
Yeah, you're
played
thinking
bot a
for
lot,
It's
bot,
right?
half
yeah.
a kill's worth of gold
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
one
it's half a
hit,
kill.
which is really actually almost guaranteed if the enemy opponent does roam. So actually, I will break this down real quick. So I've thought about this a lot. Basically, because all turrets start with 5 plates or whatever, the bread and butter roam used to be very, very powerful. It was like the thing to do as a mid laner. If you weren't doing it, you were playing the game wrong. And I think now it's more of there's a certain point in lane phase where the bread and butter roam is a very bad idea. And there's a certain point in the lane phase where the bread and butter roam becomes more powerful, like what it used to be. And that's usually after like the first 2 plates are gone, or you have got some sort of like your 2 plates on your tower are gone, so it's like hard to get that third plate right. So or it's like towards the end of the lane phase time wise, so like 12-13 minute mark. I think you can do that bread and butter roam where you like push in the wave real fast and you see the opportunity and you just go.
Yeah, I think
um,
that's a really good point.
Whereas like it is something that you don't do is you don't do the bread and butter roam at the like 6 minute mark, because one, the resistances on your tower are down right after 5 minutes, right? So your tower is weak and you've got 2 fat juicy plates up there. So basically what has to happen is you have to go bot lane and get a double kill, um, or get a kill and not lose anybody in order to like make it worth whatever plates you are almost guaranteed to lose. So it's better to stay in lane with somebody who pushes really hard and just take the guaranteed plates and let your opponent Katarina run bot and take the chance on not getting any kills at all or getting killed themselves. Um, and so it's like, yeah, it's a risk reward scenario that is not in the favor of the roamer early on, and later towards the end of the lane phase, or if the turret plates that you have on your tower have been chipped away a little bit, then the risk reward is not as bad. Like you can make that judgment call more safely.
I think that's like a really good point. I think the time where you decide whether or not the turret plates or the roam is beneficial, it depends on the pressure of the lane that you're like exerting, right?
Yes.
So if your
Yes.
bot lane like is getting demolished, they're down like 20 CS like super early, they're pushed in, they can't do anything, or like your top lane is doing the same thing, because usually the person that's roaming is going to be your mid laner, it's going to be your support, and that's pretty much it. Sometimes your top laner, but I feel like the only time like a top laner quote unquote roams is if he's making TP plays around the map.
Yeah, which they're taking ignite usually now.
Yeah.
Um, if you are doing the bread and butter roam, as a mid laner, I highly suggest trying to roam top. Um, Top champions these days are usually hype. Well, they're like bruisers who can 1v5 late stage in the game, whether it's a Fiora or Darius or Aurelia or whatever. Um, they're really powerful characters, and Conquer with all the true damage that they have makes them very powerful carries. So you can actually gank top and help your top laner out, and there's less wards for you to have to worry about walking over when that happens too. Whereas bot lane, they've got 2 people down there with trinkets, so it's more, and people buying and a support buying pinks, so it's more easy to be spotted. So I think roaming top for the bread and butter roam is a really good strategy or something to keep in mind. Um, but yeah,
Another thing for the bread and butter roam is if you do it, like you can pull it off still, right? You can force your laner out or kill him, shove the
yeah,
wave, and you can start your roam, and that your reinforcement wave should be coming by the time they get back to lane, so you
yeah,
you have time to make that roam back and come back when it should be close to crashing. They might take a little bit of damage off of it, but if you do it and time it right, you shouldn't lose like a full plate.
yeah.
And I think
That's yeah.
for
Go ahead.
junglers, it's something that you need to look out for. If your mid laner's roaming and like they get something out of it, even if it's not kills, if it's like sums or pressure or something, and that mid laner shoving, you just showing up and clearing that wave if you're not gonna die, if you're not at like 25 HP or something, relieves a lot of pressure. And even though it shows you on the map, since your laner's doing the roaming, that means usually you don't have a gank opportunity up, right?
Hmm.
And it's just something that I noticed a lot as a jungler when I would play with like the my one mid lane friend. Like either he'd roam or he'd have to kill and back, and I'd have to go and clean up the wave.
Right.
Because you're just if you let the wave die to the turret, one you're giving up like mid lane pressure and plating, which is gold, but you're also letting the minions die, so you're losing the gold and experience from that.
Hmm.
And if your mid laner bitches at you for picking up CS when he's not in lane and it's in your turret, just ignore him and like
Mute.
he's
Yeah.
just an
Please,
idiot.
please take my CS while I'm not there. Please do. Please cover my turret. I don't. I don't want that gold going to waste. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the reaction roam as well.
Okay.
So you just got, you just noticed that the mid laner, your opponent, left. All right, you saw him start wandering down to bot lane. It states in the video, don't hesitate, follow. And I say that with a caveat: follow intelligently. So don't go blindly walking into this area because I told Danger Penguin said to follow, and so
Right.
you walk right into jungle and the mid just sitting there waiting to kill you. Don't do that. But it does say to follow immediately, because if it actually shows a video of him not following immediately. He's like, I thought I could pick up these 4 CS, and it shows him blowing his, he was RE through his Q, he popped his W, got the 4 CS, then wandered to the top lane where the other mid laner had gotten there and they had done a double kill. He was able to clean up afterwards, but he was like, I still didn't do this right, because if I had followed immediately, we might not have lost anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are going to, so you have to make the conscious decision. I don't think Zill plans on following. Zill's going to push that wave as hard as he can, and he's going to take some turret plates.
Right.
But he is going to ping danger. Like be wary. I know they left. I don't care. I'm not following them.
Usually. Yeah.
But I'm not following him. Just so you know, he can go as top
Okay,
as
so
many times as he wants.
reactionary room for me is a little different. So one, we got turret plates now, right? So
Yep.
that's like a goal in mid lane for me to get. And when my laner is not there, those plates are vulnerable. And odds are, if that laner is roaming at the wrong period of time or doesn't have any plates down, I will be able to get 1 or 2 of those and even out your death. So it's really not that big of a deal to me. I think it's a better bet for me to stay in lane, especially because keep in mind, I have a champion who is weaker early in comparison to most mid laners, and so can't duel if he gets caught out during his reactionary roam. So it's actually dangerous for Zillion, especially, or even like Vigar per se, or Vel'Koz to like wander up river or down river by themselves and risk getting caught out by quicker assassin jungles and things like that. So, but those are all like factors I'm kind of taking into this. When it comes to the reactionary roam for me, what I kind of consider the reactionary roam that everyone should be taking, no matter who you are or what your role is or what your playstyle is the my jungler is fighting somewhere nearby. Um, there's a fight breaking out. I need to be going towards that initially so I can decide whether or not like what we're gonna do from there. So you like the quicker you get to that fight, the better, the more decision making power you have. And as soon as that fight breaks out, whether it's in river over scuttle or at the entrance to the enemy jungle or your jungle or whatever it is, like you, as soon as you see that fight break out on your mini map, just start walking towards it. And I wouldn't like cut across, into the enemy's like path to die first, but try to get there as quickly and as safely as you can to help out your jungler. I find that like making sure that your jungler doesn't die to like the enemy mid laner and the enemy jungle in river over scuttle is like a huge if that happens, that's a huge setback for your entire team. And so it's very important to go to where fighting is happening and protect your team as soon as possible. And if you are a control mage, or even if you're a top laner with any sort of like CC or lockdown, Like you just need to walk towards those fights as soon as you see them. And that to me is the reactionary roam. It's when you see fighting breaking out. Now, if the fighting is all the way up in the top lane or all the way down the bot lane, like I may not follow, depending on turret plates and if it's a laner roaming. But yeah, if I see junglers or skirmishes happening nearby where I am, that's something I need to try to impact.
Especially early on, those first
Especially
scuttle
early
fights
on.
that take.
Especially early on.
Because if, let's say, their jungler their mid laner goes and you don't go, the mid laner and jungle kill your jungle, and then he walks back in the lane with your jungle's blue. Oh, you are going to have so much fun.
Yeah, have fun, right? Like, and the thing is, like, you could have prevented that. You could have done something, but instead you pushed the like.
You got 3 CS.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, right, the turret plates are valuable, but you're not going to get turret plates off them just roaming 2 steps over. You might get turret plates off them roaming to bot or top completely, right? Or
Right.
chasing someone at their tower. Then it buys you time to get turret plates. But no, if they're just sidestepping over onto the other side of the fucking rocks and river and then killing nothing but kill 2 minions in front of you, that was not an equal trade. Like, do not do that. Like, babysit your jungle if you have to. And if you have to view it that way, that's fine. But like, don't let your jungle just like hang out to dry. Especially if you're a solo laner. Ugh.
That goes for bot too. When your support, you're an even spot in the lane at that time, and you see a fight breaking out, both you and the ADC should start moving into the jungle, moving into the river to try and help out, because that first death can be such a death knell. Because then the jungler goes into your jungle, steals all of your jungle camps, and leaves before they ever get back up.
Right.
And now your jungler can't do anything.
Basically, if you don't get lucky within the next 10 minutes, then you're gonna have to wait till late game, or if you scale to be able to like challenge that. Like if they play calculatedly enough, they can control the game for the next 10 to 15 minutes. And that's just like, you don't want to have to deal with that. Like, just when the opportunity presents itself for you to go and help. Like, even if you have to stand by them and provide a way for them to just escape, or a few seconds extra for them to like try and flash over a wall or something. Like, you even just being there helps so much, because it causes the enemy team to have to focus on you and your existence and what you can possibly do to impact them. Whereas if it's just them 2v1ing your jungle in the river, like, they will not hesitate. They have no reason to. And that can be over before your jungler has a chance. So, yeah, go to the fights. Please go to the fights. League is like a super skirmishy game right now. Like, there is rarely those really big 5v5s unless one team has like heavy engaged tools and can just decide when they want to do a 5v5 whenever. Like, skirmishes are constantly happening, either in the jungle or around objectives. Riot's done a really good job of like making objectives kind of everywhere, and so there's reasons to fight everywhere now, whether it's for Vision or for Scuttle or for Dragon or whatever. So yeah, just like try and be present when those things break out. Like, you getting half a minion wave for not participating in a fight is not an equitable trade of your time. Yeah.
I think if you're gonna do reactionary roams, they have to be very dependent on vision. I think if your jungler is caught 1v3 and you don't have vision of anywhere else in like the jungle or the river, I think following it is really risky, and I think I'm like a big advocate for helping your junglers early, especially like around crabs and stuff, because it's really not like super far from you. But I
Yeah.
think you have to be able to read the situation. You have to like know what you're walking into, and sometimes just having the body there will like prevent your jungler from dying, or make it so it's at least 1-for-1 or something. But like
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a good handful of times it just ends into like a bath where it's like 3-for-1 against you guys, and now it's like, well, this game just got a lot harder than rather just letting like the one guy go.
Yeah.
I
I
think
feel like those are easy to size up, though. You know what I mean? Like,
I think it
so
varies game to game. I think it's very
sure.
dependent on like champions and like location of where
Champions,
everything
right?
is.
Right. Yeah. So it's two things. You said vision, right? And I think vision here is a key thing, because it's also what you don't see that like helps you figure out what decisions to make. So for instance, let's say you got an Nasus top, right? And I'm mid, and let's say you're the jungle Astros. You go to invade, all of a sudden I look at my mini map. My mid laner isn't there. I don't know where the jungler is, and I don't see Nasus's top laner either. But I see you trying to get the enemy blue buff. I can almost guarantee, even though I can't see any of the enemy team, exactly what they're about to do,
Oh yeah.
which is to jump your ass, right?
Hmm.
And so it's like I don't need a lot of vision to tell me that you need to get the fuck out of there. And when it comes to like even figuring out whether or not we need to fight that, right? Like say we have a Zillion mid, right, and we have the Nas top, and let's say you're Kha'Zix. Well, okay, Kha'Zix is strong, right? But if they have like a Lee Sin and an Ari, like two early enough game champions, um, plus you've got Zill and Nasus who are pretty weak early. Like whatever fighting goes on should be where we either have a numbers advantage or a health bar advantage or something. And if we don't have that, we need to get the fuck out. And that's just the answer. Like it's pretty easy to figure that out just by like sizing up what champions are fighting and what you don't see on the minimap.
Yeah, I don't want people like roaming to roam and like especially in that sense, especially early cuz games are like pretty snowbally right now
Yeah,
and
roaming to Rome is the cheese Rome, which he was talking about. And I think that's
roaming reactionary in sense of just showing up there thinking that like it's gonna fix like it's not always the best play to just follow your laner.
you. Oh wait, to follow the jungle.
No,
Your lane,
he's saying like so like if you're mid lane and someone roams, it's not always the right play to just follow them immediately.
No,
Which
yeah, I agree with that.
I agree with that. But if you see them wandering straight towards Scuttle Crab, where you know your jungle's going and you know it's a 2v2, then I do think that's a pretty good idea. Doesn't mean roam right into brush that you can't see, but it does mean start moving your ass that way.
Get in the general area where you can impact the fight. Come at it from
Exactly.
a direction that can help
Even if
your
it's
jungler.
just throwing a Zill speed onto your jungler so that he might be able to run away.
Or just having your
Yeah.
icon pop up on their screen, right? Or the fact that you left lane shows them that you're headed that way. Like even if you step out of vision of their minions, they now don't know where you are. So they have to be more careful in how they proceed. Like I feel like even if you're just walking away, like to roam, you can then constantly reassess the situation while you're walking. It's just that you got the initial walking started so that you won't be late. Right?
I think that's a very good point. Is you don't have to complete the roam. You don't have to
Yeah,
go
yeah.
to Scuttle Crab. Let's say you walk into you're the first one to roam. You're the first one to say, okay, I see that there's going to be a fight over Scuttle Crab. I have advantage with the wave pushing a little bit in my favor right now. I can just walk straight north and get to them. So then you step outside of vision. They ping danger, and their jungler runs away. Right? That's
Yeah.
something that can very easily happen. So taking a few steps, probably lost no CS. You just went into the brush, and now you've affected that whole area. You've gotten Scuttle Crab now. Your jungler doesn't get into a fight, and it's all because you were the first person to make a move. And a lot of times, that's a good that's you taking control over the game. You're exerting your abilities on them, even something as little as I have a slightly pushed lane, so now I'm the one who could get there first, so you better rethink what
Right.
you're about to do.
God, it feels so good when you like throw dematerializer down on a cannon while you decide to roam away, right? Like where like it's like, yeah, you can follow me or you can let this wave push.
I like how most people are like, oh, it feels so good when you get like a triple kill and you attack, but no, Zill feels so good when he uses that materializer and just strolls away. Oh man, that's the stuff that dreams
That's
are
the
made of.
satisfying part of League of Legends for me. Killing minions. I love killing minions.
That was perfection. That was Zill in a nutshell right there.
Yep, pretty much. I'm a monster. What can I say? I like watching paint dry as well.
Yeah,
It's
there's
super
nothing
fun.
quite like it.
While I'm eating it. Yep.
alrighty then. That took a turn.
It is, isn't it?
I didn't
Can't see the
know.
stuff though.
Interesting. Interesting.
Well, let's see. Does that kind of wrap that up, fellas? What do you
I
think?
think that covers everything that we were gonna hit on. You got anything, Astros?
The season starts soon.
Oh,
I
that's
know
right.
you and me, man. We're gonna be duo partners.
Yeah, I'm gonna tank your rank so much.
Hey, I guess I'm not gonna be your duo partner. Hey, Zill, I got an opening.
That sounds great. Wait, you play support, right? That'll work.
Support top. Yeah.
Okay. I like having the solo lanes, knowing the solo lanes won't lose. That feels good to me.
Well, then don't play with me, cause I'll probably lose lane.
Okay, sure.
My DMs are open for duo partners. Carry me to late game, please.
They're open for more than just duo partners. So hit up Astros. Trust me.
Whoa.
Partners in
It'll be
general.
worthwhile.
Business partners, relationship partners.
I did make a comment. I hate I hate everyone.
Yep, that sounds
fair.
about right. But yeah, season's starting soon. Get hyped. It really hasn't changed at all this preseason, so I don't even understand what the last 3 months have been about. But we're about to head into the new season now.
I mean, people still don't understand turret playing and how that has changed things, but
Good.
whatever. Yeah, good is how I feel about that too.
Hey, LPL and LCK started, and then EU starts, or whatever they named it something else now, but EU starts tomorrow. So get to watching. I even saw an Elise support today in the LCK. And then Astros tried to flame me on general chat.
I didn't flame you. I just said it's old. Jesus.
That's it for me.
All right, fellas.
I'm spent.
Cool, man. Well, we'll wrap it up here. Thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for participating in the community and all that stuff. So we'll see y'all later. Good night.
Good night.
Later.
Is Blake around to stop Zencaster?
I'm sure he will be. Yep. Let's see.
Oh, I stopped it.